Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. There are two topics that I really want to cover in this video, which is the Pochette Accessoires and the price increase that took place there and whether or not I still think this bag is worth it. And then I kind of want to talk about the difference in pricing between leather and canvas, because a lot of people are commenting on how Louis Vuitton is trying to raise the price of canvas to be more in line with leather, and my thoughts on that based on some of my experience in product development. And then also I want to talk about the difference between canvas and leather in other brands and how that compares to the difference at Louis Vuitton. So if that sounds interesting to you, then please go ahead and keep watching. Standing in a new setting here in my brand new closet. If you have not had a chance to check out some of the videos on my husband build my DIY dream closet, go ahead and check those out. But bear with me, I am still working on unpacking everything, organizing everything. So these are 3 bags I've been using lately that I was able to put behind me to give you a little bit of eye candy in the background. I'm also still working on getting lighting set up. It is late here, so bear with me. If the audio is sounding a little bit echoey, I still don't have a rug in this room and I still don't have the room filled with all of my stuff, which would help with the echo. So I hope the sound is not too bad for you guys. In today's video, what I want to discuss is Louis Vuitton's most recent price increase. I'm about 2 months late here. It happened on October 1st. It was rumored to be happening in August and mainly on canvas pieces only. I believe 𝒞𝒽𝒃 originally started talking about a price increase that was coming, and then it got postponed and it ended up happening on October 1st, but it wasn't just for canvas pieces, it was for leather pieces as well. I have been tracking pricing on certain things for a while, you know, so that I can do update videos like this. And back in August when they did announce that canvas price increase was coming, I started keeping closer track of canvas items specifically. So in the update I'm providing you today, I do have more information on canvas versus leather. There are a ton of videos out already on the Louis Vuitton price increase. They will read you off a lot of the increases. I do have my laptop too right in front of me, so if you see me look down at it, I have a bunch of notes that I'm referring to. I made a big spreadsheet of all of the prices and formulas that I will be referring to. So let's start with some averages. I tracked about 67 canvas pieces in total, and on average, these canvas pieces increased 9%. The highest increases were the mini Pochette Accessoires. That went up 21% from $445 to $540. And then the Pochette Accessoires or the Pochette Accessories, that went up the highest, 33%. I believe it was like 32.9%, so I will be rounding 33%. That bag was $790 and it went up to $1,050. Now, don't forget, and if you watched my video on what these bags cost in 1991 versus 2001 versus today, please check that out. It's super interesting. But this bag cost $165 in 2001. So the bag has gone up 536% over the 20-year time period. And I also mentioned in that video, my assumption was that Louis Vuitton was trying to increase this bag to over $1,000 because Louis Vuitton does classify the Pochette Accessoires as a handbag on their website. And my assumption was that they wanted no handbags below $1,000, just as part of their image, their marketing, whatever. I think that they deliberately wanted that price to go above $1,000, and I mentioned it in that video, and I thought that they were gonna do it over like a 2-year period, but they did it in one shot from that $790 to $1,050, which is pretty crazy. So let's talk a little bit about whether I think this bag is worth it at the $1,050 price point. So if you look at the price, like I mentioned, in 2001, it was $165. If you put that into an inflation calculator and it applied the price increase based on inflation only, it would be worth $250 today. I have one example right here. This is a special edition. It is a little unique because obviously it has like the studding on it, but this is the bag we're talking about here in monogram canvas. this. So I will preface by saying that I love these bags. I collect them. One of the next videos I'll do, I think, will be my Pochette Accessoires collection, but I collect these in special edition only. So this is the 𝒤𝒹𝓃𝒾𝓄𝒾 one, which is the majority of my collection. They did recently release the 𝒢𝓉'𝓈 one, which was super cute, that I did not end up getting, but I really liked it. So I am going to preface by saying I love this bag. I think it is an easy grab and go bag. It is a bag that I often grab to go to dinner, to run out, to run an errand. I mean, I've been loving this bag lately, the Prada, to go grab and get dinner, but typically I choose one of my Pochette Accessoires, whatever one goes with my outfit the best, and that is one of my most often used bags. I also think this is a great size bag for a collector that's just starting out, or if you're buying this for your daughter for a graduation gift, this is the perfect college bag. I got through college with this size bag just by shoving, you know, my camera in there, my lipstick, a little bit of cash, just the necessities for a night out. And nowadays we don't even have to carry cameras, we carry cell phones, and this is the perfect size bag. Is it worth $1,050 today? In my opinion, it's not. I think if you are going to buy this bag, you should buy a limited edition, a special edition one, get a Steven Sprouse one, get a 𝒤𝒹𝓃𝒾𝓄𝒾 one. I hope they start releasing this in more of the, you know, special collections in like unique designs, because this bag in monogram canvas or damier alone, I do not think is worth $1,050. To me, this is more of a $500 or $600 bag. That's what I would cap it out at. There are way too many options similar in size and function to this bag from other brands that I would put my money towards instead of this at that price point. And please subscribe if you're interested in seeing that video, because I am putting together a list of the perfect pochette accessoire alternatives as we speak, and I'll be putting that video up shortly. So unfortunately, I cannot recommend this bag at that price point anymore. I think it's a great bag. I'm going to hold on to all of the ones that I have, but I actually don't own this in basic monogram. My mom does. She loves the bag, but I will not be purchasing it in basic monogram or basic damier. To me, it's just not worth it. One other thing that I want to point out is on these older styles, these actually had the suede lining, the Alcantara microfiber lining. Sorry, it's not suede, it's faux suede. And this makes it more valuable in my opinion. The monogram, the basic monogram and damier ones today have a cotton canvas lining, so it's not even like as luxurious of a lining. To me, that adds more value to the bag. And the lining is something that I will be bringing up as we talk about some of the other price comparisons coming up here. So I actually only tracked 13 leather bags. Like I said, my focus was on canvas at the time because I thought that canvas was the only material that was increasing. So I did end up tracking 13 leather bags. They went up on average 6%. The highest I have noted on my list, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because Louis Vuitton would randomly increase things sometimes and I may have missed it, but I have noted that the Capucin's MM went from 5,200 to 6,100, which is a 17% increase. That is the highest increase I had noted for leather. I also thought it was pretty interesting that you guys know how much I love the Coussin bag. It's not here because it's downstairs. It's still my daily wear right now. It was very interesting to me that that bag actually went up as well. The pochette version went up 2%. The MM went up 9% and the PM went up 10%. I do love this bag, but it is pretty wild that they're already taking increases on something that is so new to the collection. Okay, so now I want to talk about the difference in price between canvas and leather. I feel like the rumors that we hear are that Louis Vuitton wants canvas to be the same price as leather or relatively close. Now, I do have an opinion on this that I want to share from a different perspective. So I have a little bit of product development experience. I did it for about 4 years in my career. I did a mix of apparel, shoes, and handbags. And one thing that I do want to point out is that when we would get the costing on the synthetic versus leather, because I did both, the synthetic often actually was not that inexpensive in comparison to leather. It can be expensive to find a good quality synthetic, one that doesn't feel sticky when you touch it, one that doesn't smell like, you know, burnt plastic or whatever. It actually can be hard to find really good synthetics, just like there can be beautiful materials like tweeds at Chanel that actually cost as much or more than leather. So there is a bit of cost that goes into a textile, and the whole thing about Louis Vuitton canvas is that it was made in the beginning to be somewhat weather resistant, because at the time they only had leather trunks. Those would get damaged and moldy during travel. So Louis Vuitton was actually an inventor, and he made this canvas material to be better for travel. So I do want to say that when we think about it, when we talk about it, we're like, it's just cheap canvas. Why is it so expensive? Why does it keep going up in cost? But there is definitely a process to making this canvas, and I don't know like what goes into it, if they're doing something to make it more sustainable, etc. That all costs money. So I do think that there is somewhat of a justification, the fact that synthetic materials might be higher in cost. Think of 𝒤𝓈 bags, for example. Those are all vegan leather, which means they're not real leather, but they cost the same as real leather bags. So why are they so expensive? I mean, that's a whole nother question, but it does cost money to make good synthetic products. So just keep that in mind. That being said, I do not think this bag is worth $1,050. So there's definitely two sides to that story. I just wanted to point that out. In my experience, I have seen synthetic prices be very close to leather prices, especially if you are sourcing really good materials. So just something, just food for thought. So I tracked a few prices, bringing my computer in here because it's easier for me to look at. And I want to tell you the price difference between canvas and leather. So we've got the Neverfull MM in canvas versus the Neverfull MM in Empreinte leather. The difference between the two before the price increase was 47%. The canvas was $1,540, the leather was $2,260. The difference now is 40%. So it was a 7% change. They are bringing the price of leather and canvas closer together. So it is true, the theory that they're trying to bridge that gap, basically. And something I also want to point out here is that a lot of the leather versions have that microfiber interior, and a lot of the canvas versions have the canvas interior, and that interior material would obviously lead to a price difference as well. For example, like the 𝐿𝓝𝓈 microfiber lining is the same faux suede that they use in a lot of high-end sports cars. So that's an expensive material that would add cost to the bag. I actually really quickly looked up the price of the 𝒤𝒽𝒻𝓈 Neverfull that I bought and unboxed on my channel, but I ended up returning because it had some quality issues. If you compare that canvas Neverfull, which had microfiber lining, to the Empreinte leather version, there was only a 4% price difference. So 4% difference between those two with the same lining versus when they had the canvas lining versus the microfiber lining. I don't know. I'm just pointing that out to you. It's not always an apples to apples comparison because there are differences in the lining. So the next one that I compared was the Speedy 𝐵𝑒 monogram canvas, the new size 20, which is $1,890, compared to the Empreinte leather Speedy 𝐵𝑒 20 at $2,440. That is a 29% difference. I do not have the previous price because the canvas bag just came out, but a 29% difference compared to the 40% difference of the Neverfull. This one's interesting. The Speedy 𝐵𝑒 25 canvas versus Empreinte, $1,690 versus $2,590. It's a 53% difference. So that one is actually the highest. Let's look at the Pochette Metis. So the Pochette Metis was $2,050. It increased to $2,360. The Empreinte was $2,420. It increased to $2,570. So previously there was an 18% difference between canvas and leather. Today there is a 9% difference between canvas and leather. So they cut it in half. For that one, it's also interesting that monogram canvas and reverse canvas used to have separate prices. They now have the same price at $2,360. Onthego GM, the difference between those prices, I'll show you the increases on the screen somewhere. They actually stayed the same. So the difference between canvas and leather in this case is 14%. So they are not that separated. The GM went from, in canvas, it went from $2,770 to $2,840. The leather went from $3,200 to $3,250. It used to be a 16% difference. It is now a 14% difference. And the MM difference is the same as the GM difference now. Let's look at the Alma. So I actually don't have the previous price, but the canvas went from $1,480 to $1,620. The Empreinte, I don't have the previous price of the 𝐵𝑒, but the current price is $2,360. There's a 46% difference between canvas and leather. And then the Cons went from an 11% difference to a 9% difference. I'll flash those numbers up on the screen. And those are the only comparisons I have. So it's pretty interesting how big the range is in that it's not consistent. The highest difference that I noted was 53%, and the lowest difference was 9%. So it is very interesting to me that it is not consistent, but that is also because there are so many other components to the bag. There are different types of hardware, you know, different zippers, different studs and stuff on it that can add to the price of the bag. So you would have to really, you know, dissect it to say whether or not it was an apples to apples comparison, but it is pretty interesting to me how far spread the difference between canvas and leather is. One other thing I want to talk about is just how companies think about pricing. And again, when I was doing product development, we would have to come up with the pricing strategy. There were several things that we look at, which are, and I have never worked for Louis Vuitton, so putting that out there now, I have never worked for the brand. I'm relating my experience to this. This is just my opinion. It is all alleged. When we would price goods, we would look at the competitive landscape first. We would say, what brand are we comparing our brands to? What is their highest item priced at? What is their lowest item priced at? And what is like the core of their business, their number one selling items priced at? And we would say, okay, if we want to compete with them, we either want to be lower or higher for whatever purpose, right? So we would definitely look at the competitive landscape. Then we would of course look at our margins. Everybody has margin goals. They report to boards of people. They have to make their numbers. And if you needed to hit a certain price point on one bag, you might take a lower margin there. And you might take a higher margin on another bag to make up the difference so that your total margin is falling somewhere within that goal, right? So that also factors into it. The other thing we would do is we would look at where the items fell within the total assortment. So if I knew I wanted my starting price point to be $1,050, my most affordable bag in my collection, and my most expensive bag to be the Capucine for $6,100, then I would kind of slot everything in between within where I thought the customer's perspective of that price should be. Again, in relation to my competitors, and again, in relation to making my margin numbers. So there you go. That is sort of a few of the factors that go into a pricing strategy. But looking at competitors is definitely part of it. And I would assume that all of these companies are doing that, including Chanel looking at Hermes, Louis Vuitton looking at Chanel and Hermes, and where they fall in the scheme of most expensive luxury brand to least expensive luxury brand. And somebody asked me a question about this in one of my other videos, and I'm going to make a video on it, sort of the difference in price between each of the brands and where that was in the past and where it is now, because I think it's really interesting when we look at Chanel. So the last thing I wanted to mention is competitor differences in price between leather and non-leather. So I looked at a few examples here, Chanel, Gucci, and Celine. The first thing I did was I pulled up a Chanel tote because I kind of wanted to see the difference between like the Neverfull. So the small shopping bag, which is all calfskin, it is 13 inches wide, retails for $5,400. If you look at a comparable shopping bag that is 16 inches wide, so slightly bigger in the mixed fibers looking fabric, this retails for $3,300. So the difference between material and leather in this tote example for Chanel is 64%. So that is a bigger difference. If you look at the medium classic flap, you've got a leather, your classic leather version just went up to $8,800. Then you also click on the tweeds and fabrics. You've got a tweed here for $8,400. So there's actually only a 5% difference between leather and tweed in Chanel. And different materials have different prices in Chanel, obviously, but I just wanted to point out that you have a synthetic material here that is actually very close in price to leather. That being said, this is a very high quality tweed material. There's a lot of work that goes into making this beautiful material. That is why it is priced the same as the leather. This other classic flap here, this tweed material is actually $9,100. So it's 3% more expensive than the leather, which is very interesting. If you look at the mini flap now retails for $4,400. It did not go up in the last price increase. If you compare it to this wool tweed at $4,100, this is just a wool tweed material. It's a 7% difference. So again, you have a range there, very similar to Louis Vuitton. You have the lowest end at actually the synthetic material is more expensive than leather versus the big gap of 64% on that tote bag. Now let's look at Gucci, because this I feel like is a lot more comparable to Louis Vuitton because they sell canvas products. So the small marmot leather versus canvas is 2,050 versus 2,350. It's only a 15% difference between canvas and leather. The Dionysus GG small in canvas is 25.50. In leather is 26.90. There's only a 5% difference in this one. Again, there are a lot of other factors here. There might be jewels on one buckle and not on the other. Those jewels might cost more money, etc. So it's not necessarily apples to apples, but the majority material of that bag, canvas versus leather, it's only a 5% price difference. The small top handle with bamboo bag here, so I'll put these all up on the screen. This one is 29.80 in canvas. Actually, this one's more of a material. It's a cotton canvas. It's not coated canvas like Louis Vuitton. There's only an 11% difference in these two. Again, very close. Now this one, super interesting. The Ophidia medium tote in traditional canvas is $13.50. In leather, it's $19.80. That is a 47% price increase. So again, very similar to Louis Vuitton and Chanel, where the totes in the leather were much more expensive than the canvas. So it's actually very similar in pricing scheme, right? But I just want to point out that if you look at Gucci, people are kind of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Louis Vuitton is making their bags closer in price to leather. Brands like Gucci have been close in price since the beginning and nobody has mentioned it. So I just want to point that out. Last but not least, I just quickly wanted like a very direct comparison of the same bag. I found the Ava bag on Celine, the coated canvas material, very similar, was $1,400, and the all leather material was $1,700. And this is a company that does very high quality leathers. I love Celine's leathers. That is a 21% difference. There is a little comparison for you on how some of the competitor brands compare material, whether it's canvas, whether it's tweed, whether it's cotton, to leather. You can see that they're not drastically price different. So it does not surprise me that Louis Vuitton is bringing those prices closer together. Personally, I don't think they will ever be the same. I think a difference of like 10 to 20% makes sense. Like I said, I do think more goes into making a quality synthetic than people understand. So it does make sense that they're not cheap, right? It's still a quality material. If you think about it too, like just comparing the Louis Vuitton Neverfull to the 𝒤𝓈 canvas on the Saint Louis tote, that tote has a history. The 𝒤𝓈 Saint Louis tote has a history of breaking, the corners busting open. Louis Vuitton bags, have you ever seen somebody post a picture of like the corner busting open? No, because that's a strong bag. It can carry up to 200 pounds. So don't count canvas out, guys. It definitely holds its value at resale. In my opinion, it is worth the money. It can hold up to a lot more abuse than a delicate leather in a lot of cases. So yeah, that is my opinion on that. But I wouldn't pay $1,050 for a basic monogram canvas pochette accessoire. And I'm shocked that they increased that price 33% in one shot. Like, I'm blown away by that. So again, I don't want to just list off prices for you guys because I know there's a ton of other videos. You can see those prices. I will probably make an updated video on what the most affordable bag is from Louis Vuitton because that video is outdated now with all of the increases. If you're interested in seeing my Pochette Accessoires collection, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. And if you're interested on seeing the price difference between the brands, I have that. I'm working on that video now too. So please subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.